Have you ever lain down at the end of a long day, closed your eyes, yet your mind simply would not rest? Not because something terrible happened, not because you're broken, but because your heart feels too full. Full of noise, full of tension, full of unfinished thoughts, unresolved worries, and unspoken emotions. And then you quietly ask yourself, why does my life look more complete than ever, yet my soul feels smaller than ever? We live in an age where everything exists in excess. More choices, more information, more expectations, and far more pressure than anyone can see. People today aren't starving for food, they're starving for peace. They aren't lacking comfort, they're lacking space for their soul to breathe. Someone once told me, I have a home, a job, a stable income, but somehow I feel trapped inside my own life. And I replied, maybe your life isn't wrong. Maybe it's simply too full. Full of schedules, full of responsibilities, full of unseen worries, full of the versions of yourself that others want you to become. And sometimes, just a life that's too full is enough to make the soul unbearably cramped. Today, you don't need to add anything new to fix your life. You simply need to subtract. Subtract the noise that doesn't matter. Subtract the expectations that aren't yours. Subtract the races you never intended to join. Because there is a timeless truth the ancients understood long before us. When life becomes simple, the soul becomes spacious. And perhaps this is exactly the lesson you need right now. Not to escape life, not to abandon everything, but to return, slowly, gently, to a way of living that lets your heart breathe again. If you're ready, then come with me. Let's step into the next chapter together.
To live simply is not to live with less. It is to live with clarity. It is choosing what truly matters, guarding your energy, and letting go of everything that quietly drains your spirit. But before a person can simplify their life, they must understand a truth that almost no one realizes. Complexity does not come from the outside world. It grows from the weight we carry within ourselves. Think about the things that exhaust you the most. They are rarely physical tasks. More often, they are the stories you replay over and over, the regrets you refuse to release, the expectations you keep trying to meet, the wounds you have never allowed to heal, and the imagined futures you constantly fear. A careless comment from years ago, a failure you secretly punish yourself for, a relationship that is ended but still occupies your heart, or a dream you have outgrown but are afraid to let go of. These things do not sit on a shelf where you can set them down with your hands. They follow you silently, shaping your decisions, your emotions, and even your sleep. Simplicity begins at the moment you say to yourself, I don't have to carry this anymore. It is not a dramatic transformation, but a gentle return. A return to lightness, to inner space, to peace. There is an old saying that the calmer the mind becomes, the clearer life appears. Peace is not created by controlling everything around you. It is created by opening space within yourself. When your inner world is tangled, every small responsibility feels overwhelming. But when your inner world becomes spacious, even difficult days feel manageable. In that spaciousness, you finally see what truly matters. A healthy body, a peaceful home, a few loyal friends, a purpose that guides your days, and a mind not constantly dragged around by unnecessary worries. The strange truth is that when you simplify your life, you lose nothing of real value. You only release what was never essential in the first place. Simplifying your inner world is very much like cleaning a forgotten room. At first, everything feels dusty, heavy, and darker than you remembered. You may even forget what the room originally looked like. But as you start clearing away what no longer serves you, wiping off layers of old emotions, and opening the windows of your mind, you begin to notice something. The sunlight returns exactly as it always did. You don't need new furniture, new colors, or new decorations. You simply needed space. Human beings are the same. We do not need to reinvent ourselves or become someone entirely different. Most of the time, we simply need to return to ourselves. The version of us that is quieter, gentler, more focused, more genuine, and far less burdened by unnecessary noise. A simple life is not a life of absence. It is a life of presence. Not a lack of things, but a fullness of meaning. not living slowly, but living consciously. When you begin to simplify, the world does not shrink. Your soul expands. There comes a moment in every person's life when simplicity stops being a preference and becomes a necessity. A moment when the noise, the expectations, the endless comparisons, and the silent pressure to keep up become too heavy to carry. It often begins quietly. A morning when you wake up tired, though you slept enough. A conversation where you smile, though your heart is exhausted. A day when even small tasks feel strangely overwhelming. And then, somewhere inside you, a gentle voice finally whispers, "This is not the way I want to live." That whisper is the beginning of awakening. Simplicity is not just about cleaning your schedule or reducing your belongings. It is an inner rebellion, a refusal to let your life be dictated by what society admires rather than what your soul truly needs. It challenges everything you were taught, that success must be loud, that productivity defines your worth, that being busy means being valuable, that more is always better. But deep down, you already know that none of those beliefs ever brought you real peace. What if the real richness of life is not in accumulation, but in appreciation? What if the true mark of wisdom is not knowing more, but needing less? What if strength is not proven by how much you can hold, but by how much you can release? Simplicity invites you to confront these questions, not with fear, but with honesty. There is a moment in the journey towards simplicity when you must face your attachments, not the objects you own, but the emotional knots that keep you entangled. The desire to please everyone, the fear of missing out, the habit of proving yourself, the insecurity of not being enough, the longing for validation that never lasts. These are the heaviest burdens because they have no physical form. You cannot place them on a table and choose to walk away. You can only recognize them, understand them, and gently untie them one by one. And yet, once you begin releasing these inner chains, something extraordinary happens. Your mind becomes clearer, your emotions become softer, your decisions become simpler, your days become lighter. You begin to realize that the world was never truly overwhelming. It was your inner turbulence that made everything feel harder than it was. When the mind quiets, the world becomes gentler. There is an old teaching from Eastern philosophy. A full cup cannot receive new water. Most people live with their cups overflowing with obligations, unresolved emotions, unfinished dreams, and the voices of others telling them who they should be. But when you empty your cup even just a little, you create room for clarity, for creativity, for peace, and for yourself. In that space, life transforms. You begin to notice beauty that was always there, the warmth of sunlight on your hands, the sincerity in a loved one's voice, the comfort of a quiet morning, the pleasure of breathing without rushing somewhere. These moments do not appear because your life suddenly becomes perfect, they appear because your heart finally becomes open. The climax of simplicity is this realization. Happiness is found not by adding more to your life, but by removing what blocks it. When you stop chasing, stop competing, stop carrying what hurts, and stop living for the approval of people who don't even know your story, you return to the most natural state of being, calm, present, alive. And it is in that stillness that you finally discover who you really are.
When you finally begin to live simply, the world doesn't change. You do. And that inner shift alters everything you see, everything you feel, and everything you choose. You start to understand that peace is not something you chase, it is something you create. And the more you protect that peace, the more life rewards you with clarity. Living simply does not mean you abandon ambition or stop dreaming. It means you choose dreams that nourish rather than drain you. It means you work not to impress, but to grow. It means you value depth over noise, quality over quantity, authenticity over appearances. You stop trying to outrun the world and instead learn to walk at the pace your heart can breathe. There is a unique power in people who live simply. They move slowly but never fall behind. They speak gently, but their words carry weight. They own little but feel abundant. They are not distracted by glitter because they understand that true gold never needs to shine loudly. In their presence, you feel calmer, as if their peace quietly invites your own. But simplicity also asks for courage. Courage to walk away from people who complicate your spirit. Courage to say no when your heart is tired. Courage to rest even when the world praises exhaustion. Courage to let some doors close without needing to understand why. Courage to trust that a lighter life is not an empty life, it is a meaningful one. Sometimes this courage feels like loss. You may lose old habits, old identities, old friendships that no longer align with who you are becoming. But each loss is a gentle clearing, making room for something that fits you better. Like a tree shedding leaves, not because it is dying, but because it is preparing for new growth. You are not becoming less, you are becoming real. And as you continue walking this path, a realization begins to bloom. The things you removed were never part of your essence. They were weights, distractions, stories imposed on you. What remains, your values, your kindness, your honesty, your presence, that is who you have always been. Simplicity strips away everything that is not you. In that nakedness, you rediscover the things that matter most. The warmth of people who genuinely care, the satisfaction of work done with intention, the joy of evenings when your mind is quiet, the comfort of not pretending, the blessing of enough. You learn to forgive faster, love deeper, and breathe easier. Even challenges feel different, no longer chaotic storms, but gentle reminders of your resilience. There is a quiet miracle that happens when the mind becomes uncluttered. You stop feeling like life is slipping away. You stop rushing through moments without tasting them. You stop waiting for someday to feel happy. You start living now, fully, consciously, gratefully.
You begin to appreciate the mornings you once overlooked, the conversations you once skimmed through, the small victories you once dismissed. Life becomes textured again, not because it becomes easier, but because you become more present. Simplicity does not remove problems, it removes the unnecessary suffering around them. It teaches you to respond instead of react, to choose instead of being pulled, to breathe instead of breaking. And eventually, you come to the final truth that simplicity has been trying to teach you all along. A spacious heart is a powerful heart. When your inner world is uncluttered, wisdom finds room to speak. When your emotions are not crowded, compassion finds room to grow. When your mind is not overflowing, creativity finds room to unfold. When your soul is not burdened, joy finds room to stay. Living simply is not an escape from life, it is the most intimate way of participating in it. It is choosing presence over pressure, being over proving, essence over excess. It is knowing that a meaningful life is not built by collecting things, but by cultivating moments. And as you step into this lighter, clearer, truer version of yourself, you finally understand. Simplicity is not the destination. It is the path that leads you back home, to the person you were always meant to be. If something in this message touched you, even quietly, take a moment to look gently into your own life. Ask yourself, what is crowding my mind? What can I set down today? You don't need to transform everything at once. Start with one small step. Clear one corner of your inner world, release one unnecessary worry, say no to one expectation that doesn't belong to you. Every simple act is a step back toward peace. And if you want to keep expanding your inner space, if you want to learn how to live lighter, calmer, and more intentionally, let me walk this journey with you. Share your thoughts in the comments. What is the first thing you choose to let go of? Share this video with someone who might need a moment of breathing room. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any upcoming reflections, lessons, and insights to help you live more deeply every day. Peace doesn't arrive when you wait for it. Peace arrives when you begin